June 15th, 2024. Well, as I'd mentioned in my last video, and looking into it, on the question, did the Biden executive order have any effect on the immigration? It seems like maybe there is a little bit of a downturn, but they're still having numbers above the 2,500 a year, and there certainly are people still being released into the country. So I don't think the border has been closed as it was being advertised. So we'll continue to monitor the situation, but I don't think that's a big success. On another alien topic, of course, President Trump, in an interview, was asked about UFOs and aliens, and basically he again repeated something he said before, that he'd met with some pilots that told him about some really amazing things, and that they seemed to be very sincere people, but that he wasn't personally into that issue, and actually diverted the subject to talk about the other kind of aliens, the ones which I just mentioned, which is more the kind of alien he seems to be more focused on, of course, which makes sense politically. But interesting now, Ross Coulthart, who is the Australian journalist who did the Rush interview over a year ago here, he says that Trump has been fully briefed on the subject, and so I guess he's not disposed to discuss what the more details that he has. Of course, I'm a little bit concerned at times about some of Ross's claims. I mean, when they get a little bit out there, and I think at this point he's a known item to the organizations that supposedly are conducting the UFO issue, so to speak, in what we call the program, right? So I tend to think that if that's the case, he may be subjected to some pretty serious observation, and I wouldn't be surprised that people aren't deliberately feeding him misinformation from the program in order to actually confuse him. That is to say, those that are loyal to the security may actually be getting assignments to tell him things that are going to be eventually proven wrong in order to discredit him. But we'll see. That's just another item that we want to discuss in this little jumble of things in this particular video. By the way, if you like these videos, please give me a like. And we're always looking for more subscriptions. And of course, if you happen to catch this through one of my social media posts and happen to be a Rumble member instead of a YouTube member, you can follow me there. All the information is in the description below. Yeah, so that's one area. Now another area, Biden, of course, has been at the G7 summit. I think the Italian prime minister had to turn him around to show him where to look at the guy that had jumped out of an airplane there and parachuted down. But at any rate, he did meet with Zelensky and signed a 10-year agreement of support. But this is supposed to politically lock the next president into continuing with this policy. However, I don't think it has any legal power such as a treaty would. So it's more of a, kind of a commitment, but then, how the commitments can go on these things. So that's a development that we have to monitor. And then on the other front, of course, Zelensky's got this meeting coming up here shortly that I believe starting over the weekend, I think it is, that with a lot of different countries that support the Ukraine, who are going to negotiate a peace plan for Ukraine without the Russians present. Kind of hard to negotiate a peace plan without all the relevant parties there. I guess that would be more of an ultimatum. Then on the other hand, Putin has put out a statement that he's put out his peace plan, which would be that the Ukrainian military forces withdraw from all four of the regions that he has annexed, okay, and that they make an agreement that they will not become a member of NATO, and in that case, then he would agree to a ceasefire. So that's an interesting item. On the other hand, while that sounds like a complete non-starter, we have to remember that the Ukrainian position consists of a series of elements, three of which I can recall offhand, which was one is that Russia completely withdraws to the original 1991 borders. That includes abandoning Crimea as well as all the other areas you'll see in red on these maps, these war maps, right? Um, and two, that they pay reparations to Ukraine, and three, that Putin surrender and be tried as a war criminal. I think that's also a non-starter. So I think so far, I think that efforts at negotiation would be at an impasse, or at least we have two clearly cut starting points. And so that's kind of the way that is going. So a lot of little details coming along here, and of course the 14th was Trump's birthday, and he made an interesting speech there. I think it was at Mar-a-Lago. That was part of his campaign, and of course on other fronts, the Supreme Court has has issued a ruling on the so-called bump stock issue. That if you recall that after the tragic mass shooting at Las Vegas, I guess it was in 2017, the assailant had used bump stocks, which are a kind of a device that allows one to increase the rate of fire of a semi-automatic rifle by essentially the thing uses a recoil to go back and forth and rapidly pull the trigger, so to speak. And at any rate, the Supreme Court's ruled that does not constitute a machine gun under the written law, because a machine gun requires that multiple rounds be fired with a single depression of the trigger. And of course, the trigger is being depressed every time in this action. So effectively, that will will allow bump stocks to become legal again and shut down the ATF order. On the other hand, I don't think it's a big endorsement of bump stocks. Whether or not the Congress will act on this or not, I don't know. However, I would presume it won't be at all, unless there would be something, a little bit of give on the gun rights side otherwise. I personally am no big fan of bump stocks because I think they're kind of a waste of ammunition, basically. But at any rate, and I don't know whether they pose a big threat or not, but I mean, most ranges wouldn't let you use them anyhow. So I think it's kind of a weird novelty in general. But anyhow, that's a Supreme Court ruling that seems to be pro-Second Amendment, I guess you'd call it, at least against the administrative state making law by decree. On the other hand, on the abortion pill issue, they basically ruled that some people trying to block the decisions that the administration made to make them more available, that they didn't have standing, and so that was shot down, which will probably have a little bit of an effect of not of weakening the Democrats' use of the abortion issue, although they're going to continue to use it anyhow. But at the national level, there's no likelihood any kind of abortion regulation or law would be passed that would restrict it further because of the filibuster in the Senate. So note to Democrats, you better be careful with the idea of getting rid of the filibuster. It could go in direction someday you wouldn't want. But at any rate, but the states will be free then to go ahead and pass whatever laws they want. So some states are moving to bans, and other states are moving to abortion to birth, and so you have all these differing positions. So that probably will not change. But the issue will be demagogued, I'm sure. So anyhow, that's kind of a rundown of some of the events that we're seeing. We haven't got the big decision, of course, on the presidential immunity yet from the Supreme Court. I guess next Thursday, supposedly, they're going to issue some more rulings, what I've heard. And so we'll see what they decide to do. There's still debates going on in the Georgia, I guess, but before the Georgia appellate court about the idea of removing the Fulton County DA from the Trump case or not, because of the issues that had been raised previously. and I know the prosecutor's trying to get it dismissed, but I don't know. I have a feeling it won't be. I tend to think that that they're probably going to be continue to support the idea that there really is a flaw in that particular DA's office conducting the prosecution. We'll see how that turns out. And I think that things are still being discussed also in the documents case in Florida. I guess a ruling went sort of in favor of the prosecutor, but there's still some hitches in it, I think, as well. I think he had some bad rulings previously, so it's kind of, I think that case is so complex that we don't know when it will ever come to trial. It's been postponed and probably will remain postponed, probably to after the election, hopefully, and as will I hope. I think the immunity case, I'm not sure what that case before the Supreme Court, I think the argument there is some people think they'll remand it to the lower court to address certain issues, and other people think, and I personally prefer the idea of simply not ruling at all. Let's just hold it up until after the election and then rule however they feel like. It is a tricky case because while on the one hand you don't want to have absolute presidential immunity, obviously, on the other, because who knows what Biden or some other Democrat would do with that, for instance, or maybe even what a Republican could do. On the other hand, what's being done to Trump is clearly wrong and shouldn't be allowed. So, because it really is a massive presidential election interference. And finally, I guess there is I hear some risk being raised that maybe that some of these illegal immigrants will try to vote illegally in the election, but suppose there's an escape clause. If they don't believe they're illegal, then it'll be hard to convict them. Seems like that's a law that probably needs to be tightened up. Well, at any rate, I've kind of ran through as I say, a potpourri of a lot of issues here, and for the end of the week. And by the way, so again, I'll be posting this on both YouTube and Rumble, and of course the addresses of my social media account are in the description below. So until next time.